It was a dark and stormy night. That's just how a good story starts. And the next day turned out beautiful. Surprised? Well, me as well. You stand on the onshore integrated control center of Ratatoska, our favorite fictional asset. One of the walls in the operation center is decorated with legacy P&IDs. These P&IDs from Huldra, the old asset that Ratatoska is a complete replica of. Can you imagine? People used to work with P&IDs? Really? Of course, now we work with the digital asset model. Can you please bring that up, Martin? Can you get his screen on? Perhaps? Ah, there it is. Whoa! The digital asset model, no longer P&IDs. So in this model, all the information from the P&IDs are within. We have additional extracted information from various sources, like the engineering numbering system, data sheets, and system descriptions. An alarm. Martin, can you please locate that alarm? The asset data model is not directly connected to the control system. But if a control room operator would like to get help in investigating an alarm, they can pass it through to the digital asset model. Can you please show us the data for this alarm, Martin? So now this is a temperature transmitter connected to a generator. And we see that the temperature trend is steadily increasing. It has been for the last 4 hours. And now it's hitting the high alarm level. I can understand, you can understand, why the control room operator wanted to get help with this. This is a generator of the main power system, and the backup generator, well, that's out for maintenance at the moment. Wow. Another alarm. Can you locate this as well, Martin? A new temperature transmitter, this time connected to a heat exchanger in the gas cooling system. Can you please bring up the data? Wow. The same trend, an increase in temperature. Right. That's strange that we get that we get the same trend, two different systems. Martin, can we check whether or not these two things are connected? If the generator and the heat exchanger are connected somehow. It is. What is it that connects it? Martin, can you please, instead of just showing the direct connection, show us all the connections between these two elements? Thank you. And then you zoom out a bit. Yeah. I know this. This is the seawater system. This is the cooling system. So perhaps the rise in temperature in the generator and the heat exchanger is due to a lack of cooling. Okay, let's investigate the seawater level system further. So now Martin, he will kind of navigate the model. I will try to help you understand what happens with a few slides on the side. First of all, we need some more information. Martin, can you please bring up the pressure sensors? So now all the pressure transmitters and sensors will be marked with green. All right. Let's start by investigating the coarse filter package, key component of the seawater system. Let's investigate the pressure difference across the filter. So if you can bring up some data for the pressure difference. We expect about 1.5 bar gauge as a pressure difference. This is a bit low. Is it stale? Is it frozen? Is this sensor broken? All right, we need to find the pressure difference in another way. Let us look for a pressure transmitter in another place in the seawater system. Let's look at the hot seawater circulation part of things. This is now placed between the heat exchanger and the coarse filter package. Let's get the pressure from that. If you just go to the pressure sensor on the right. Bring up the data, please. Thank you. Now, normally we would expect like 5-6 bar gauge here. So this is a bit on the low side. Let's see what the pressure is on the other side of the coarse filter package. So let's move towards the seawater lift pump. See if we can find a pressure transmitter there. There we are. If you can bring up the data. Thank you. All right. We were expecting about 7 bar gauge, 9 at least. There's a huge pressure difference across the coarse filter. Something has to be wrong, right? Let us send out somebody to investigate. Wow. How the heck did that get there, right? No animals were harmed during this demo. But still, how did that get there? Well, it shouldn't have gotten through the inlet grating of the inlet for the seawater lift pump. So we send down an ROE, and this is the root cause, right? A missing inlet grate. Is this story improbable? Yes, it is. Is it impossible? No, it's not. It's like Viking winning the Premier League. Congratulations. All right. All right, so it's improbable. It's not impossible, like there have been cases where inlet gratings have fallen off. Fish living in the seawater system is actually probably quite likely. And also the filters, they tend to break. But what is possible? This is a digital asset model. That's fully possible today. And let me give you an example from another industry. Have you heard about the company Wiz? Right? Some notes? It is a security software company that builds a connected graph of your IT infrastructure. That connected graph can answer questions like, what parts of my IT infrastructure is connected to the internet, and how are they connected to the internet? That provides attack vectors. It gives you your attack vectors into your system. Wiz increased their annual recurring revenue from $1 to $100 million in 18 months. They were the fastest growing software company before the generative AI wave. Why? They had a connected graph. This digital asset model is a connected graph, and it's more versatile than Wiz's. We can answer questions about what pieces of equipment are related and link it to other data and information. We know that this user interface is not the best one, but we wanted to show it to you because this is the kind of graph you would like to feed your AI. And then there's a but. There's actually 2 buts. First of all is our current data, which is not necessarily in the state it should be to create graphs like these. They are not that well connected, and they probably lack information we need to fulfill our new requirements, our new use cases. And I say probably because that's the other but, our data requirements. We don't really know what they are yet. And to emphasize this, 40 years ago, Terry Pratchett wrote the book, the first Discworld novel, The Color of Magic. And for an aspiring nerd, that was a huge revelation. It was a book about wizards. It had humor, and it had this philosophical conundrum: what is the color of magic? What would that look like? In Discworld, the answer is octarine, the color your brain insists doesn't exist. That's strange. It's like a great metaphor for something shimmering, something that is just outside of reach, something that is just outside of what you can perceive. Just like our data requirements. You feel that they should be there, but they're not there. All right. So what do we have to do? Well, we have to describe our use cases so that we can get our data requirements and know turning a data sheet into structured data is not a use case. It's not a business use case. So we need to find out what our data requirements are, what our data look like, what color the data has. It is time for DISC to write their first DISC novel, collecting a collection of these use cases so that we can unleash the true power of data. Thank you.